Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today at Lila's Best Eats. I hope everyone's having a good day. If you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for your subscription. If you haven't yet subscribed, but you enjoy the content that I'm pushing out, then please hit that like, share, and subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you could be notified whenever I upload any of my delicious cooking content. Now, let's get into today's video. Let's get to doing what I do best. Let's get to doing it right. Okay guys, let's get to doing it right. For my dairy-free hamburger helper, you're going to need these ingredients: ground turkey, onion, minced garlic, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, black pepper, sea salt, parsley flakes, dairy-free cheddar cheese, cornstarch, monk fruit sugar in the raw, cavatappi pasta or whatever pasta you like, olive oil, unsweetened coconut milk, and room temperature water. Now, for the very first step in making this dairy-free hamburger helper, you're going to need to slice off a few slices of the onion, about 3 to be exact. Then stack the onion, cut it in half, and commence to giving it a rough dicing. Once you've completed dicing the onion, go ahead and place it into a small bowl and set it aside for later. Okay, so we've cut our onion and diced it, and now we're going to move on to the dry ingredients. We're going to first start with measuring out 1 full tablespoon of paprika and getting it right into the small prep bowl. Then we're going to measure out 1 full tablespoon of cornstarch. And be sure that when you measure out the cornstarch, you level it off to make sure you have an accurate measurement. Okay guys, these next few ingredients are going to require separate measurements. So we're going to start with the sea salt and measure out 1½ teaspoons, starting with the first teaspoon and then adding a ½ teaspoon to that. The onion powder and garlic powder are equal in measurements. We're going to measure 1½ teaspoons of both, starting with the garlic powder. We're going to measure out the first teaspoon, and then we're going to follow it up by adding the ½ teaspoon. So we're going to do the same with the onion powder. We're going to measure out the first teaspoon, and then we're going to follow it up by adding the additional ½ teaspoon. Next, we're going to measure out exactly a ½ teaspoon of our ground black pepper and get it right into the bowl with the other previous ingredients. Next, we're going to grab our monk fruit sugar and we're going to measure out exactly 1 full teaspoon. Then once we've gotten all of our seasonings added to this bowl, we're just going to give it a light stir to incorporate all of the seasonings before we add it to the meat. Okay guys, we're down to our last dry ingredient. We're going to measure out exactly 3 tablespoons of these parsley flakes and get it right into the bowl, and then we're going to move on to the wet ingredients. For our first wet ingredient, we're going to measure out 1½ cups of our unsweetened coconut milk. But if you prefer a creamier version, then measure out 1 3/4 cups of unsweetened coconut milk and then pour that into a separate bowl and set it aside for later. Grab your pasta of choice and measure out exactly 2 full cups. Now, using the same measuring cup, measure out 2 cups of your dairy-free cheddar cheese. Now it's time to prepare the meat mixture, but before we get started with that, we need to first measure out 2 cups of our room temperature water and get it into a medium saucepan over a medium-low heat and allow it to slowly come to a boil. Now we can move on to the meat mixture. Go ahead and get your olive oil and measure out 1 tablespoon and get that into the skillet over a medium-high heat. All right, you guys, here comes the fun, easy part. Just go ahead and dump everything from this point moving forward, starting with the onions first. Dump those into the skillet. Grab that garlic and open that top and dump about roughly a tablespoon of that into the skillet as well. And go ahead and mix those onions and garlic. We're just going to mix it thoroughly enough until the onions become translucent and we begin to smell the aromatics from the garlic. Now that our onions and garlic are done, we're going to go ahead and add our 1 pound of ground turkey directly into the skillet. For our next dump and go step, we're going to go ahead and get that seasoning that we prepared earlier in the video and dump it right on top of the meat. Next, using a fork or a meat chopper, incorporate all of the seasoning into the meat. We're going to cook the meat for several minutes and allow it to brown. Then once our meat has completely cooked, we can then add our 2 cups of slowly boiled water directly into the skillet. Now for the few last remaining ingredients. We're going to go ahead and add that 1½ cup of plant-based milk, followed by adding our 2 cups of cavatappi pasta. And we want to make sure when we add the pasta, we want to make sure that we slightly submerge it into the liquid and meat mixture so that when it cooks, it evenly cooks to an al dente texture. Place the lid onto the skillet and allow the pasta to cook for about 11 minutes. Once the pasta is done, remove the lid and add your 2 cups of dairy-free cheddar cheese. Lastly, go ahead and dump in those 3 tablespoons of parsley flakes and give this mixture a good stir until your parsley flakes your cheese and your milk are very well incorporated, and you end up with a very, very cheesy mixture. Okay, guys, once you've incorporated all of the ingredients, these are the cheesy results you should end up with. Do you see it? Look at it fall off the spoon. Look at all that cheesy goodness. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share my content, let people know that Lila's Best Eats is always doing it right. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you guys again next time.